Hi everyone, welcome back. Okay, so this video and tutorial will be brought to you by popular demand because I've gotten several questions about how I've created my watercolor decals for my Cricut machine. So some of you have seen this watercolor sticker, if you will, that I put on my Cricut machine, and I actually put that on there fairly soon after I got and brought my little maker home. So I'm going to go through a tutorial for you today on how to create your own watercolor floral decal. If you don't want to create a watercolor floral decal, you can create any decal. So just make sure you take away the tips and tricks for this. I'm going to be using printable vinyl today. So this is going to be really fun. If you haven't used printable vinyl yet, get ready to be addicted because this is a really, really fun tool to play with. So printable vinyl is a wonderful way for you to create any type of image and get a lot of color without having to buy multiple colors of vinyl. So I will walk you through it step by step today. It's going to be really fun. If you can put a watercolor decal or a decal of any choice on any Cricut machine you have. So I'm going to be doing it on my new Cricut Joy today. I know some of you have gotten the new Cricut Joy and are super excited about it, and thanks for commenting on it. But some of you don't have it, and that's completely fine. This tutorial is for everybody. This is for anything you want to put a decal on. So I'm just going to be doing my project for the Cricut Joy, but you can do it for any Cricut machine. Okay, so the supplies you're going to need are, I'm going to be using some printable vinyl. This is the Cricut brand of printable vinyl. I will make sure to link it in the description box below because I think it is top notch, and this is the only printable vinyl that I have used. So you're also going to need a scraping tool and a weeding tool. I would recommend grabbing a pair of tweezers, and you guys will see why in a little bit. I also have my True Control knife out just in case, and you again will see why once we start getting the decal printed out and getting it sliced. So what we're going to do first is we are going to measure our space. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be putting mine on the opening tray here. So I'm going to put mine right here. And it looks like I don't want mine any wider than 5.5. So I'm going to use those as my measurements, and that's about right. So 5.5 is going to be my maximum. Where I'm measuring is there are two little indentations here that when you push the little tray up, they go into this slot. So I don't want to put anything over those because they'll just get crushed off once it goes to close. So, and there's also three little raised bumps on the actual tray, and so I want to also do my best to avoid placing a sticker over those. Okay, so now let me see actually what those, just for out of curiosity. So those are going to be at 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm going to do in Design Space and how you can create your own sticker or decal for your Cricut machine. So let's pop into Design Space. I will also put any of the other materials in the description box below just in case anything else sneaks into the video today. And like always, make sure you give this a thumbs up if you're having fun. And also, if you would love to subscribe, I'm going to be having a ton of stuff for spring coming up, and a really, really fun tutorial on felt flowers for my little girl's birthday cake is on its way. So get ready and let's pop into Design Space. Let's get this designed and then we will get it cut. Okay, so here we are in Design Space. This is going to be so quick and easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left side and I'm just going to hit the bottom button that says upload, and I am going to upload an image that I have downloaded from Google. So I did a Google search for floral, I think I said like watercolor florals or something like that, or watercolor flowers. I think I used floral anyway, and I found an image that was a free download and free for personal use. So I'm just making this for myself. I'm just making this for my own Cricut. So I'm just putting this into my I'm putting it into my canvas. So when you're using images from Google, just make sure you are looking at their usage and reading through. Again, I'm just making this for my own personal use. So I found this one. I thought this would be really fun. It's got some bright, fun colors. Again, another reason Print Then Cut and printable vinyl is really, really fun is because it allows you to do a lot of colors on one piece. So if you were going to do something like this or similar idea like this with regular vinyl, look at how many colors of vinyl you'd have to buy. I mean, I'm looking at probably at least 8 to 10 shades here of color. So that would be really hard and expensive. So the Print Then Cut is a wonderful way for you to be able to create really pretty things and really colorful things without having to buy multiple pieces of vinyl. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mindful. It looks like I'm actually pretty safe right here with my sizing. So I might just stay there. So it loaded it at 5.5 by 2.7. And I know I wanted to stay around 1.5, but bear with me. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to make that shorter. So I am going to go ahead, and if you wanted to resize it, you just hit this bottom right button and you can drag to resize, but I'm going to hit undo because I kind of really like the size that it came in as, and I'm going to just re-measure my space that I'm working with, and we are just pretty perfect there. Okay, so I'm going to do that. That looks great. Next thing you're going to do is you are going to come over here. I am going to say I'm using my maker today, and then I'm going to hit make it. So one thing about the Cricut Joy is if you have the Cricut Joy, the Cricut Joy cannot do Print Then Cut, so that's why I am opting to use my maker today. And honestly, my maker is my #1 tool anyway, so you'll see a lot of it on the channel. So now it's showing me that it's going to print this first. So Print Then Cut, if you're unaware, is they actually send that printable vinyl. So you're going to load it into your printer, and the Cricut Design Space is going to send this design to your printer to be printed out first. So you're just going to hit continue, and then you're going to click send to printer because that is our first step. So I just have my printer right here. I'm only doing one copy. I always add bleed, and what this does is it adds a little bit more bleed. It kind of bleeds the ink around the edges so that once it's time to cut it, it has a more precise looking cut. So I personally always add bleed, so I would recommend you do the same if you're working on this project. Now I'm going to load my vinyl into my printer, and then I am going to get it printed. Okay, so it all printed out on my printable vinyl with my printer. How does that look? It looks really fun. And look at the colors against the Joy. I thought that would be really fun. I went for like a more pastel and like soft tones for my maker because I got the rose color, but I wanted to do something a little bit more vibrant and fun with this one, so this is the one I chose. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to load our design on our Cricut mat. So one thing to note is that you want to load this exactly as is. Do not do any cutting. Do you notice the black boxes around the floral decal? Those are actually registration marks, and they are very, very important. So do not do any cutting. Make sure they remain on the sheet. So what they do is they actually show the Cricut, once your Cricut loads the mat, the Cricut is going to read these registration marks, and it will reference where the decal is in reference to the registration marks. So it's its way of getting everything placed so that it can cut. So it just is a very, very smart little machine, but make sure you keep those little black boxes on there. Don't cut them off. So you can put this anywhere on the mat because it's referencing the registration marks only. So don't worry if you don't get it perfectly in the corner. You can put it anywhere on there. As long as the registration marks are present, you're good to go. So I am going to place it right here, and it is dry, but I always get just a little nervous about like touching it so soon after printing, but it is dry, but it's just kind of my best practice to use like a little roller This is my brayer tool. I'll link it down below. Again, yes, a lot of tools end up sneaking their way into the video, so don't worry. I've got your back, and I'll put them in the links below for you. So it's all laid down, and then it'll prompt you in Design Space to do step 2. So remember, step 1 was sending this to our printer. Step 2 is going to be printing or getting it cut on the Cricut. So I'm just going to use the printable vinyl selection. It's under the vinyl category in Design Space. Let me double check that I said that right. Yes, it's under the vinyl category, and it's just called printable vinyl. And I'm using default pressure, and I'm going to get this loaded. And then it's going to cut. Okay, so before it does any cutting, like I said, what it's going to do is it's going to take its time and look at those reference lines. So it's going to check out the registration marks and scan them and make sure that it knows what to cut in reference to that box. Okay, so while it's doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a little cotton swab, and I am just going to prep the surface, the 2 little areas that I'm going to be placing my decal. So I'm going to be placing a little bit up here, and I'm going to be placing a little bit down here. And what this does is it just kind of removes any dust, oils. I have been, let's see, I've had this for 3 days now, so, but I have been like playing around with it, carrying it around because you can, because it's so small, carrying it around and doing all the things. So it's just making sure that everything is clean and it's going to be ready to go. Helps just that vinyl just stick down really nice when it has a really clean surface. So that's ready, and now we're just waiting for the Cricut. It is at 2%. I think this might take a while, so let me time it for you guys. I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, and we will meet back here when it is done cutting. Okay, so that's done printing. It took about 5 minutes, so yours might be more or less depending on the size that you use, but just know it takes a little bit of time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my mat over, and I am going to gently remove the mat from the vinyl. That way the vinyl doesn't curl. That way we're keeping the vinyl as flat as possible. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is I am just going to use my paper trimmer to go ahead and save some of this printable vinyl. So we have a lot left over. Okay, so I'm just going to slice this off, and then we'll save our scraps. Okay, so now what we're going to work on next is we're going to work on weeding out our design. So just like you would vinyl, you are going to start weeding. So I do it just as I would regular adhesive vinyl or HTV. I'm going to, you know what, since this is so, one second, since this is so intricate, let me just make sure it's all pushed down before I get to weeding. Okay. Again, piercing the corner, what we're doing now is we're removing anything that we do not want to keep on the design and what we're not going to be using. So I like to start by weeding the back surrounding area, and you're going to be really gentle and careful. Most of the pieces are connected together, but some, like this little leaf, is he connected, or he's a standalone? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your design space is still up and able to reference right now, because when you go to place this down on your little machine, or wherever you put it, you're going to want to reference where some of those pieces are supposed to go. And you guys will see more of that as I continue on with this project. So just keep that in mind. You're going to not want to like take your design and go sit somewhere else. Kind of keep your design space handy. Okay, so I'm just pulling up this last little piece. That weeded really, really nice. Okay, so here is the final. Now I'm just going to make sure all of the little pieces have been weeded, and I think they have. Okay, this is going to look really cute here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to actually slice the image in half, because I'm going to put half of it here and half of it up here. So bear with me. Trust me, it's going to look really cute. I did this on my maker. You guys can't see it because it's kind of out of the screen right here, but it turns out really, really fun. So I'm just going to see where exactly I want to place my cut. I want to see if I can go right in the middle of these flowers here. Okay, so I'm using my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to carefully put my design there, and then I'm going to slice. Okay, so now I have my design in 2 different spots. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a deep breath. I always get so nervous when it's time to put this down. I might actually try using some, let's just size this really quick. That's really neat. Okay, so my idea is that one will go there and one will go here. Looks really neat. I am going to try using some masking transfer tape to put this down, and the reason I'm going to try doing masking transfer tape, let me grab it, is because it's very, very light grip. I would not use regular transfer tape with this because it would just rip it. So let's try doing this. I will link this exact transfer tape below for you guys so that you know exactly what I'm using. It's a very light grip. If you guys remember, let me just put it on top. If you guys remember what masking tape kind of feels like, it's, you know, not incredibly thick at all. That's pretty much what this resembles and what this is like. Grab some scissors. So let me try this out for everybody and see how it works. I was going to lay it down like a sticker, however, it has a lot of little pieces. Some of these pieces are all together and some of them are standalone, so I just wasn't quite comfortable trying to place all of those individually. So let's see if we can do it this way. Okay, so I'm just cutting off the edge here because I went over in my transfer tape. That way we can keep a nice clean edge on our design here. Okay, now I'm going to just scrape this down. Okay, and remove or flip it over and scrape the back. Okay, now I need to make sure that this is where I want this one. I want this guy down here and this up here. I think that would be best. Okay. Well, just for fun, let's see what this would look like. Okay, so I'm actually going to put this one down here, and I'll put this guy up here. So I'm going to put transfer tape on this as well, because I think it's best to put the tray one down first, because it's one that's dependent on centering with these little little divots in the tray. And then I can center the second one based on the first one. Okay, so let me go ahead and do the same process by putting some masking transfer tape on this side. And scraping it down, and then trimming off the edge. That way we have our nice clean line again. Okay. All right, let's all cross our fingers and say a prayer that this works flawlessly. I'm a little nervous, but you know, that's the fun of crafting. Okay, So now I'm just going to slowly remove the backing away from your weeding tool. Will be helpful with just helping along any pieces that want to stick down. There we go. It's coming up really, really nice. Okay, so now we're done with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this closer so I can see really well. And I'm going to line it up. Perfect, and I'm just going to press it down. So the sizing that I did has it avoiding those little raised edges in here, so that's great. It also has it away from the little indentation, little divots. So I'm going to use my scraping tool just to really scrape that down. And now I'm going to attempt pulling this up here. Okay, it's coming up. It's looking good. Going really slow just to make sure I don't rip it, because remember, this doesn't have a smooth surface like it does, you know, adhesive vinyl or HTV. This has more of a papery surface. Okay, perfect. Looks really good. Okay, so there is a little bit of residue left on the masking transfer tape, but I want to say it's like ink residue and not, you know, actual material. A couple places it might look like it had pulled up a little bit of the paper, but it really just looks like it's the ink. I'm trying to tell. It looks good though. And the finished product, which is the most important part, looks amazing. So I'm going to go with it. Again, I'm going to caution you to not use strong grip transfer tape. Use this transfer tape or a masking transfer tape. Better yet, try to put this down like a sticker, because I'm getting pretty brave with doing, even putting I've actually never put a tape over print and cut before. So this is a first time for me. That's why I might be holding my breath a little bit too, but it's interesting to try it out just to see if it works. But I think my first choice would be putting it down like a sticker just to play it safe. So I'll make sure to mention that to you guys, that if you're nervous about this, attempt doing it as a sticker. And that's why I had my tweezers out and everything, so that I could do it that way. That was my initial thought. But then there's just like tons of little pieces. Okay, so now I'm just going to center this one up here. And I'm going to lay down. And I'm going to start in the middle and just push out. I'm going to try not scraping this one down just to see if, whoops. Well, maybe I will. I was going to see if that would kind of help not leave any residue on the tape, but okay. And now I'm going to peel. So just go really, really slow so that you're not peeling up and ripping the actual paper, or, you know, the printable vinyl part. It's a little piece that wants to stay. If that happens, just try to rub it with your finger or scraping tool to get it really down. There we go. This one might benefit actually from coming from kind of an angle because teeny, teeny, tiny little pieces are on this. So just being super careful, making sure I'm not ripping anything. But looking at the actual design that is, you know, being laid down, the colors are all so the same, so it's really doing a good job. Okay, I am going to, since I have this part done, I'm going to try from this edge for a little bit. There we go. Okay, and it's down. So now I'm just going to make sure that all the little pieces are stuck down. Okay. Okay, so that is the final look. How fun is that? And so then, again, it has avoided the little raised circle bumps here, and then it has also avoided the side slats, so you can just shut it and then also open, and it looks so fun. Okay, so that was how you use printable vinyl to make a decal. So again, I did it over here on my maker. For this one, I applied it like a sticker, but it was a little bit larger, so it was a little bit easier to do so. These pieces just got a little small, which is why I decided it might be worth a try to do it with the transfer tape. Again, my first choice would be to put it down like a sticker. There is a little bit of ink residue left over on the transfer tape, but it didn't rip it. So there's that. So that was a fun little experiment, and it worked. So sometimes trying new things is exciting. Again, just make sure you are not using a strong grip masking or a strong grip transfer tape, because it will just literally rip it, and it will just be so sad. Okay guys, that is the final look. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I like how it's cut so that it's just like really fun and creative. So if you enjoyed this and you're going to go ahead and create a decal with printable vinyl, make sure you give me a thumbs up, and I'd love to hear what you guys are going to create. I think this is all such a fun little project. And again, you can put this on any Cricut that you want. I just decided to do it with my Joy because she's the newest member of our little craft table. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you would love to subscribe and see what's coming to my table next, please be sure to hit the subscribe button below. And I'd love it if you'd like and leave a comment. All right, guys, until next time, bye.